Hi everyone, Flaming Footy here, and welcome back to a new review on the channel. And today, guys, here I am to review the middle three games of round 20 of the 2023 AFL season in three-game match reviews. In this today's video, we're going to be reviewing the middle three games, and those games with Gold Coast versus Brisbane, the Q Clash, Essendon versus Sydney, and the showdown Adelaide versus Port Adelaide. Gold Coast keep their very slim finals chances alive with a huge Q Clash win over Brisbane. However, do bear in mind their run home is extremely tough from here, though, for the Gold Coast Suns. But this starts it. Their season is probably over if they had have lost this game due to their difficulty of their run home. But now it'll give them a little bit of momentum to go towards the back end of the year. With this huge Q Clash win, 15-6-96, Gold Coast to Brisbane, 7-13-55. Gold Coast in the end just smashing them by 41 points, and it's rare to see a side like Brisbane only get 55 on the board, especially considering we know how good their midfield and forward line and defence line is. We know how good that all is, but look, Gold Coast, another huge win. They've been that win against St Kilda was a relatively decent one, and now this win over Brisbane is probably going to be one of their best wins of the year. And it started off, look, Brisbane were the better side for the first little over a quarter. The Suns stormed back in that second term, but it was the third term where the damage was done. I mean, in the third and final term, it was 5 goals in the third and 5 goals in the fourth as well, compared to Brisbane's 2 in the third and their only 1 in the fourth. So they managed to storm away pretty comfortably, and it was just one man that did it for them. And it was Ben King with the 5 goals, but I'll get to that a little bit more after. 137 fantasy for Dunkley, who was huge. 115 for McCluggage, 110 for Anderson, 105 for Leicester, 104 for Rea, 103 for Flanders, 102 for Swallow, 98 for Ainsworth, 97 for Miller. And Miller didn't really sacrifice his own game, but kind of did as well, because he was the one that got the tagging responsibilities on Lachie Neale, and he did a really good job. He kept him down, and what a huge performance that was from Tuke Miller. But another huge performance it was by Ben King. He had the 5 goals. He's finally back in form. He's looking good. He got some really good shots served on silver platters to him. The ball movement was good. He had plenty of space on multiple occasions. 2 goals for Cameron Ainsworth and Casbolt as well. Disposals 32 for Flanders, 30 for Dunkley, 29 for Anderson, and Miller 28 for Atkins, Power, McCluggage. Now, I do want to see, though, where Lachie Neale is. Here he is here with the 17. He got the 60 fantasy points, the 17 disposals, 5 kicks, 12 handballs, 2 marks, 3 tackles, so he wasn't that huge at all in this one. 15 marks for Leicester, 8 for Coleman, and again, no Harris Andrews on here. Look, he only got the 6, and I don't even know whether he took... I don't think he took a whole heap of intercept marks either. So, yeah, he managed to stay really quiet as well, which was a huge positive for Gold Coast. 13 tackles for Rea, 10 for Dunkley, 8 for Swallow. Hit-outs now, 43 for Witts, 31 for McInerney, 5 for Casbolt, 2 for Danaher. Team stats now, where the Lions did go inside 50, 55 times to Gold Coast 50, but still, though, I mean, their accuracy did have a little bit of a say, but, yeah... Clearances, centre clearances 6-10 in favour of Brisbane as well, but the Suns were over them in stoppage clearances as they were in contested and uncontested footy. They won marks inside 50, 16-11, off the back of some good Ben King stuff. They led for just over 3/4 of the game. Tackles were locked at 68. Tackles inside 50 were locked at 10. But look, in the end though, huge season-saving win for the Gold Coast Suns, and it is a really good performance against one of the better teams in the competition. Huge win this. Now to the first of 2 Saturday night games. The first one being at Marvel Stadium. This was the Channel 7 one, Essendon vs Sydney. Huge game this one was going into it at the start of the round. And, well, I mean, in the end, scoreboard looks like we may have got in a good game, but it was a little bit further from that than what you may think. Essendon 15-9-99 defeated by Sydney 15-11-101. Sydney win by 2 points in the end. And look, oh, hang on, wait, let's just reload this. There we go. So, in the end, it was a really, really, really good performance from Sydney when they managed to stretch it out over the course of the second and third quarter, but then a really, really poor one in the last quarter. So, yeah, it started off, it was kind of that shootout game. Like, we don't normally see scores of this a whole heap of the time, where it's pretty much just about, I mean, 200 points combined for the game is a really good one. And it was a really shootout kind of style first term. 5 goals to Essendon, 5 goals, 1 Sydney. So it was 32-31 at the first change. And then into the second term, it was a very even game for most of it as well. The Swans and Bombers both getting their noses in front at times, but then it was 1, 2, 3 late goals in that term for the Swans, and then 1, 2, 3 more at the start of the third term, which built their lead very far out to probably about 38-ish or something, 37-ish, something along the lines of that. So it's about 6 goals then. The Bombers, they get the next 2. Before then, it is 1 more apiece to end off the quarter, and it's still about, 24 points at three-quarter time. In the final quarter, though, it is all Essendon. Sydney get the 1 goal for, so accuracy did haunt them. But in the end, though, the 5 goals for the Bombers nearly proves enough to win them the game. They just fall short by 2 points in the end. AFL Fantasy, Errol Goulden, what a superstar this man is. 142 fantasy, 140 for Zach Merritt. 127 for Lloyd, 110 for Campbell. We go goals behinds now. 5 goals for Langford, who was absolutely huge for the Bombers. 4 goals for Wright and Amadi, who looked really good as well. 3 for Wicks, 2 for Papley and Heaney. Disposals, 39 for Merritt, 37 for Goulden, 31 for Lloyd, 27 for Parrish and Caldwell, 26 for Campbell and Warner. Marks, 10 for Goulden, 8 for Merritt, Campbell, Heaney and Lloyd, 7 for Amadi. We go tackles now. 5 for Wicks and Rowbottom. So not a lot of tackles laid in this game. 29 hit-outs for Nick Bryan, 23 for Phillips, 14 for McLean, 4 for Amadi. Team stats now, where it was a domination of inside 50s for the Bombers, 69 to 47. So Sydney were way more efficient when going inside 50. And then the Bombers won in hit-outs. They won in clearance, 42 to 29 overall clearances, 18 to 12 centre clearances, 24 to 17 stoppage clearances. They also won contested footy. The Swans won the uncontested footy area of the game, though. They won marks inside 50 as well. Did Sydney 12 to 17 and overall marks for the game. Led for just over 3/4 of the game. In the end, they laid 6 more tackles, but in the end, this is one of those which they just managed to somehow survive. Now to the other Saturday night game, it was a showdown, and this just continues on the weird and crazy results we have had this round. Adelaide smashed Port Adelaide in the end by 47 points in this showdown, 16-16, 112 to Port Adelaide, 9-11-65. So really, really, really good performance here from Adelaide. 16 goals, 16 as I said, to Port Adelaide's 9 goals, 11. And let's just refresh. There we go, got the timeline up now. But as you guys can see, look, it was just a steady build, and Port Adelaide were in the game for most of it. But yeah, Adelaide did have 16 goals, 16. They had way more chances in the end. And the first quarter, Adelaide got off to a good start. Before then, Port Adelaide owned the end of that quarter. Second quarter, 4 goals to 2. So all Adelaide, they just managed to blitz away and get that lead out to about 30 points at halftime. Now, Adelaide still did kick the 3 goals in the third term. And Port Adelaide get their 3 as well. But Port Adelaide owned most of this term. It was just the last part of the term where Adelaide managed to find 2 goals late, which they let it slip. It could have been about a couple of kicks at at three-quarter time. But in the end, again, it was about that 30-point mark. And then the final quarter, 5 goals to 2. And yeah, it's definitely over from there. And Adelaide did have some chances to convert a bit more better as well, 16-16 as I said. 134 fantasy for Dawson, 131 for Walker, 115 for Laird, 106 for Rosie, 105 for Crouch, 104 for Houston, 99 for Miller. Goals behind, 7 goals, 4 for Walker. He was the best on ground. He won the showdown medal. 7 goals, 4. Huge performance from him. 4 goals for Evans, who was partly the reason why Port Adelaide were in contention in this game and how they got to that decent score in the end. Because if it wasn't for him, they probably could have really embarrassed themselves and only put up about 40 or something for the game. He was really good, though, and you'd be surely thinking he'll be a starter next week for a huge trip to Geelong against his former side anyway. 2 goals for Fogarty, Pedler, and Keys as well. Finlayson, 1 goal for. Couldn't get it. Going his way. 34 disposal for Dawson, 32 for Crouch, 32 for Miller and Butters. We go to marks now. 9 for Fogarty, 7 for Keane, Dawson, and Houston. Keane actually looked pretty good. 13 tackles for Laird, 8 for Drew, 7 for Schonberg and Rosie. 40 hit-outs for O'Brien, 24 for Vicentini, 8 for Thilthorpe, 7 for Dixon, 2 for Walker. We go team stats now, where it was the inside 50s. Port Adelaide won at 56-65, probably off the back of their really good third term they had. But Centre clearance is 8-11 in favour of Port Adelaide as well, but then the Crows are all over them. A stoppage clearance is 34-23. The Crows also won contested and uncontested footy. They smashed them in marks, 92-56, 20-7 marks inside 50, so it just goes to show the dominance. Port Adelaide do have a smaller defence line, and, well, that's definitely starting to show. We found that out about them last time. Their defence isn't big enough when these two sides last played, and again, it's the same thing. They also won in contested marks. Well, Adelaide led for the whole game, out-tackled them as well. Really good performance. Season still alive for the Crows. So as I said, those three results add to a very weird and wacky round of footy. Carlton defeated Collingwood by 17 on the Friday night. GWS defeated the Dogs by 5. And then Fremantle defeated Geelong by 7. Gold Coast defeated Brisbane by 41. Now, this was a 50-50 game, so either way it probably went. You can't really call it an upset, but Sydney defeated the Bombers by 2 in a thriller anyway. And then to add to the upsets as well, Adelaide defeated Port Adelaide by 47. And how many more are coming? Well, Sunday could be a day full of them, in all honesty. It is going to be Hawthorn taking on St Kilda in the first game of today. That's going to be a huge battle, that one. Then it's Richmond taking on Melbourne at the MCG. That one will be pick of the day. That's going to be huge. And then in the West, it's another 50-50 game. West Coast versus North Melbourne at Optus Stadium to finish off the round, 18th versus 17th. But look, there's the potential that all these three games can go either way. And so just so you know, upsets for today. If today is to be an upset day, it would have to be all the home sides, Hawthorn, Richmond and West Coast winning, and that would see the upsets continue. So I wonder how the upsets will play out. We'll go to the ladder now and have a look, and huge missed opportunities for all the top three teams. Collingwood, Port Adelaide, Brisbane all missed out on huge opportunities there, and you'd say they all had relatively winnable games. Especially Brisbane. They were the one out of these, out of the top three. They were the one which was expected to win on the weekend, and they couldn't quite produce it. So now this gives Melbourne a really good opportunity against Richmond today to get closer. Otherwise, it does open up a sneaky door for the Giants, who are in good form, and their run home isn't impossible. It is tough, but it isn't impossible. Carlton now, they're up into 6th. The Dogs missed out on a really good opportunity. They're just in 7th at the moment. The Saints may drop out. Shall Richmond get the win? And then, Sydney and Geelong have already played. Geelong missed out on a huge opportunity there. Richmond, of course, they're going to be the big movers. Shall they win? Then Adelaide in 12th. Their finals hopes to see a live look at that percentage. And then Essendon, they're in 13th, and their season is slipping away with still a simple run home. North and West Coast to come in the next couple of weeks. So they might end up getting back into the top 8 in a couple of weeks' time, but then they're Giants and Collingwood to come after that. The Suns have a relatively tough run home. Fremantle, they're probably done, considering they still play Port Adelaide and Brisbane, but that is in the West, so you can't quite just, I feel like they probably won't be there, but you never know. And then Hawthorn, North and West Coast is the bottom three. But look, Fremantle would be interesting to see their next few weeks as well. But look, interesting to see. I still feel like Fremantle and Gold Coast probably won't make it. It'll be getting tougher for Essendon, but it'll be interesting to see. I still feel like Adelaide do have a slight chance with their run home, being Gold Coast, Sydney, West Coast and Brisbane in there. And then, it'll definitely be over to all these other clubs to see what they can do. Now, it's going to have a little sneaky look at round 21. This one's going to be a big one. Western Bulldogs, Richmond on the Friday night. As I said, there's Essendon. They start their 2-game, relatively easy run. Adelaide and Gold Coast is going to be a huge one. Hawthorn and Collingwood is a Saturday twilight game. Geelong and Port Adelaide, it's a Saturday night. Double-headed treat, really. Geelong and Port Adelaide and GWS and Sydney. That's 2 huge games. Probably this one is going to be one of the biggest of the round of the Giants and the Swans. North Melbourne, St Kilda, Carlton and Fremantle, Brisbane is Sunday. Anyway, though, what a round we've had so far, and I wonder how many more upsets will continue. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please do make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell. See you guys never miss another video on the channel. Thank you guys so much. And bye, everyone. Flame Footy out.